There are two practices, core practices, regardless of we are practicing in a sutra level or tantra level, also are called Mahayana, Great Vehicle. What are those two core practices we always maintain and keep practicing? Of course, in Buddhism, we have those numbering, 2 things, 3 things, 4 things, 5 things, but I'm just asking you only 2 things. If you are in the desert, if only 2 things you need to practice, keep practicing, what do you think? Or what are you practicing every day? Even though when you're practicing the sadhana in tantric level, what are they?
Well, one for sure is the 6 session Guru Yoga.
Let me rephrase. I said practice, not a specific text or nothing like that. Then I would ask you, what's the essence of 6 session yoga? But anyway, what are those 2 things?
Refuge and bodhicitta.
Refuge and bodhicitta, that's maybe one way to say it. But what's the essence of refuge and bodhicitta? Very basic. This maybe you might thinking too much. Always it's nice to go back to the basis. Buddha's teaching and sutra level teachings, because tantra encompasses sutra, right?
Then I'm thinking it's the 2 purposes to awaken to enlightenment.
Yeah, what the practice
for
is.
us.
Daily practice, like a moment to moment or every day.
Yeah.
What's your focus? What do you need to come to realize?
Come to real
awakening, enlightenment. So that's 2 purposes, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In order to reach there, what's the method or what's the practice? Main focus of the practice. 2 purposes, yes, that's one way to say it. But
next thing I would think of is bliss and emptiness.
Bliss and emptiness, that's
quite
a tantric terminology, bliss and emptiness. Can you say more ordinary, bring it down to the common language? For example, Mahayanist, practice bliss and but did you say emptiness or clear light? Emptiness. That's good. That's one way to maybe say it. But I'm going to the basic.
I don't know. But to me, it's more renunciation and bodhicitta, forgetting about myself and thinking more about others. Which
bodhicitta?
Yeah.
Maybe that's one half equation. Bodhicitta part is, great compassion. Compassion, bodhicitta, every day. That's my focus, no? Every day, every time you hear from me that bodhicitta, this complete openness of our heart. That's really need to cultivate, regardless of whatever levels you are working on, tantric level and just regular sutra level. Without the bodhicitta, nothing would unfold. What's the half equation, you can say? I'm talking about relative bodhicitta.
you did.
Relative bodhicitta and what?
Ultimate.
What is ultimate bodhicitta? What's the ultimate bodhicitta entails, refers to?
Realizing the emptiness of all existence.
Existence, including self, the self. In other words, bodhicitta and emptiness, those 2 things, right? And you can say ultimate or absolute bodhicitta and relative bodhicitta. You always hear, no, from me, emptiness. Those 2 things are the key. All the way. We need to maintain that sort of practice on our everyday life, day to day. Whatever you practice 6 session Guru Yoga, right? Then you practice those 2 things, relative bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta, which is emptiness. Everything unfolds from emptiness. Regardless of whatever practice, whatever advanced or whatever juicy practice, we do same things. And other practices, Mahamudra, same. Everything is based on those 2 core practices. When you receive the empowerment, there's one component of empowerment called all-encompassing yoga. You are supposed to meditate on that at your heart center, inside the central chamber. White moon cushion refers to this bodhicitta, relative bodhicitta. Then standing Vajra, five-spoked Vajra. This refers to the ultimate bodhicitta, wisdom of emptiness. Then union of those two. That's called all-encompassing yoga. Yoga which encompasses everything. So I just want to re-emphasize those two basic core practice. Important to always maintain that. Until really comes some kind of glimpse or naturally come to feel convinced yourself why emphasize so much. Not just one is not enough because all go together, all enhance, and whatever practice, post meditation and meditation, all these things have to be together, especially in Tantra, become union. Like when you are sitting, so-called meditative equipoise, completely absorption, meditative absorption. In there, in Tantra, we cultivate both together wisdom, which you call cultivation of wisdom and the cultivation of merit, sonam. Your sonam ki tsok and yasheki tsok, two those things. So that's escalate this process. Why I'm emphasizing, not I, traditions or those yogis and yogini emphasize into realization of those two things, relative bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta, emptiness. Why we need those two? What do those two lead to? Result. Those are causes, you can say. Right now we are in a stage of kind of rehearsing and creating causes, something to unfold, right? So what are they? What we are trying to get at in Tantra? What are the tantric enlightenment? Please, what tantric enlightenment entails? So in order to serve two purposes, what do we need?
To completely transform my ordinary view of myself and all phenomena.
Okay, but that doesn't answer to this question about why we need those two things, like a realization of emptiness, realization of bodhicitta. I want you to draw the dots between those two things. Buddhism is science, I would say, science. Just Western science cannot understand this kind of science, but this is a science, in a sense, logical, rational, very rational. So you can draw the dots and make sense. What do we need to serve self and serve others? We just finished the first of the so-called transforming or the bringing the ordinary three to the three bodies of the Buddha, right? The first one is bringing a death, ordinary death, onto the path of Dharmakaya. So what is Dharmakaya? Emptiness part, right? Buddha mind, emptiness mind. So that serves the self. So that's you can say the self-realization, realization for the self, and accomplish fulfillment of the self. But that's not enough. Realization of emptiness. Specific term Tantra use clear light. So emptiness practice leads to Dharmakaya, Buddha mind. Then this bodhicitta, compassion practice leads to this method part. For the sake of all sentient beings, no? So only Dharmakaya is not enough. Only self-satisfying, gratifying experience doesn't mean much. So we need allies. As a technical term, this is called illusionary body. But what I'm talking about is this Nirvana Kaya, form body, Buddha body, this form body. In this case, Vajrayogini's body. That's the method side. So this bodhicitta practice, compassion practice, we have to have that even willingness to arise from the Dharmakaya won't occur if we are not practicing bodhicitta or compassion for others. But then because we cultivate it every day, so some kind of wind moves, shift while you are resting this Dharmakaya state. Of course, right now we are practicing, we are rehearsing, but this is a very important rehearsing stage. So without a rehearsal, there's nothing happen. We are not prodigy. We wish we are, but not like that. So we need that leads to the form body. Formless body, form body, you can say, or the Dharmakaya or the Nirmanakaya, you can say. So anyway, so that one, okay, all encompassing yoga. I want you to remember, maybe if you remember that yoga at your heart center, that become a reminder. That's why you receive that empowerment, that component of empowerment at the early stage of empowerment, to remind ourselves. His Holiness always emphasized, no? Whatever teaching, whatever empowerment, or whatever transmission you receive from him, always he emphasized those two. That's it. Then rest of that was those, Idan things or tantric, a little bit here and there. Those things are like attachment to the main thing. Main message is those two: emptiness and bodhicitta, or compassion, great compassion. That's very important because that's the basis. Then when we come to the Tantra, then all different terminology appears, right? Great bliss, clear light, illusionary body, or, all these things. If we know the fundamental, these two components, then you can draw the dots. You can make, oh, this is a part of this side, method side. This is a part of the wisdom side. That bliss is the method side. We use bliss. Of course, in Tantra, become indivisible. We cannot divide. It's a union of bliss and emptiness. But in terms of studying and understanding, we use that way, use a bliss to realize a clear light or emptiness in Tantra. And also female and male, why their union? Vajradhara union, right? What's the point? That's also a symbolism, but each thing has a meaning. When we look at those Yabuyum, they have to remind you this emptiness and the bodhicitta, or great bliss and clear light, and this formless state, or formless body, emptiness, and form compassion, form illusionary body.
The earlier when you were asking all the questions, that's a form that's really difficult for me without a context, and I felt like I should have a diagram in front of me to answer the questions. So I don't know how to be able to come up with those answers sometimes. So maybe if you could help me. I think I know what they are, but I don't know how to get to them in that kind of a process, if that makes any sense. So I'd really like some help sometime figuring out how to answer in that kind of a process. But I did appreciate that the structure, and I appreciated doing it with everyone. We're all doing something, and something was happening to all of us, some more than the other. But it was kind of nice to be in this, I could feel it being in the journey together.
The more we understand the sutra teaching, what's the Buddha's basic core teaching, for example, 6 parameters, 6 perfections, sutra teaching, basically consists of those 2. First 5 is a method to accumulating sonam, positive potential. Last one, 6 parameter, 6th one is wisdom of emptiness. Of course, 2 accumulation of sonam is a positive potential or merit, and the accumulation of the wisdom. So those 2. So it refers to the relative bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. Maybe matter of the context I brought up, many of you are surprised, and you have never been asked So you knew, but then you were not sure how to say in a sense. But if we have a developed confidence in our own understanding, sutra teaching, then no ambiguity, very clear about His Holiness is always teaching that way, or any great masters always emphasize. Also, when we say the three principal aspects of the path, that's the entirety of the Buddha's teaching, right? Lama Tsongkhapa condensed into the three. First one, renunciation, bodhicitta, and wisdom. So we are talking about Sutra Mahayana teaching and the Tantra Mahayana teaching, bodhicitta and emptiness. Then, of course, renunciation is the basis of everything. See, everything is framed that way.